inequality between firms is not the same as inequality between individuals or communities. We should care less, in some sense, about it. But there are a couple of reasons why we might care. So, yes, there may be these reallocation forces, which, by moving activity towards large and successful firms, like I said, are good. But there may be negative things. Some part of our wages and well-being depends on the firms we work for. So if inequality between firms has become more dispersed, this will be a force for inequality between workers. If part of the slowdown of productivity growth might be because it's harder for the laggard firms to keep up with the leading firms, that is also an issue. Work that I've done with David Dorn and Larry Katz and David Author has shown that if you look at these superstar firms, they earn pretty high price-cost margins, pretty high profits. So as the weight of the economy is shifted towards these firms, it's been a force for actually pushing down the labour share of GDP in the United States. And finally, there's also the social and political concerns that Angus raised. Maybe these very large firms have lobbying power to shift the rules of the game. Now, some of these patterns are common across countries, but they don't all operate in the same way. So, for example, if you look at the labour share of GDP or national income, it's fallen a lot more in the US than it has in the UK. And I think one of the reasons for that is institutional reasons. So, for example, in the UK, unlike the US, there has been the introduction and strengthening of the minimum wage very substantially since 1999. And that has been a force, has been shown for reducing wage inequality, especially at the bottom end of the distribution, and probably as well, and this is kind of research in progress, for maybe serving to offset some of the forces pushing down the share of labour or of GDP. Finally, what should we do about this? What does this mean for policy? I would look at three things. And building a bit on what Jim said, I think human capital skills is absolutely critical towards thinking about dealing with inequality at all levels, but particularly for people who miss out on going to university. So, I personally believe there's the so-called lost Einstein or lost Marie Curie effect. There's lots of very talented people who might be born into low-income backgrounds or backgrounds that don't get the same opportunities, that we could give them the chance to potentially become the innovators and entrepreneurs of the future. And this would be good both for inequality and also help improve the rate of innovation and productivity growth. I think there's also an important set of questions which we might get into around competition policy. So I think that needs to be radically reformed in the way that we think about dealing with this new, more winner-take-all kinds of world. And we need to think about how we regulate the digital monopolists, or how we think about competition policy towards that. And more generally, we need to think about how, especially in this country, we need to deal with the slowdown of productivity. So both improving investments and also improving innovation.